There's so many things in our environment at these low-level toxins. And basically, we've been able, in monitoring sleep, we've been able to do many double-blind studies in every component that we do, in every different feature that we come up with. And we've been able to see less deep sleep and REM sleep with the exposure to these chemicals.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. And on today's podcast, we talk about the thing that you sleep on, leaching out potential toxins that are actually not only ruining your sleep, but your health. You're going to find out so much information from our sleep expert today. But before we dive into the podcast, let me first welcome you into the Thrive State Podcast. If you are new, this is a place where I interview the world's thought leaders and experts in health, wellness, performance, longevity, all the things to bring your life, your relationships, and your businesses to the next level. If you're returning to the podcast, welcome back. Thank you for being a loyal listener. It has been quite a 2-year journey. You guys have allowed the show to really grow. The brand and the concept of Thrive State is growing, all thanks to you. And if this show has given you value, please continue to help support us. And you can do so by subscribing to the podcast, engaging with the comments, sharing this podcast with your friends and family members, and leaving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. And if you haven't already, let me send you a free gift where I give you tons of the longevity and performance resources by going to thrivestatestarter.com. You get breathwork exercises to bring you into states of calm, into states of energy, so you could really tap into the best version of yourself as you crush your day. You're also going to get free resources on your sleep, nutrition, movement, your mindset, your emotions, your community, and your sense of purpose. A resource guide, as well as ebooks. You get a whole package of performance and longevity resources by going to thrivestatestarter.com. And we have just built out our digital library that has courses to bring you into the Thrive State, into the state of optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, into a place where you can elevate your health, your happiness, and your human potential. Check it out at mythrivestate.com. And as a loyal listener, everything that's offered in our digital library is yours at 50% off by using the code ThriveState50. Now on to today's guest. He's actually someone who has worked directly with health gurus, professional athletes, teams in the NBA, the NFL, the MLS, and over 25% of NHL players have actually used his system to improve their sleep. He's actually the founder and CEO of Essentia, the world's leading health mattress. He's closely worked with renowned health gurus and interpreted their teachings in human sustainability and how they can be applied to better sleep. He's also involved with the Mayo Clinic's Well Living Lab, and his mattresses at Essentia has been a pivotal centerpiece of hotels all around the world, including the Four Seasons, Marriott, MGM Resorts, and much, much more. Now, in today's podcast, we talk about sleep, but specifically mattresses, why they're important. Are you actually on a mattress that is ruining your health and performance? And what are the things we should be considering as a part of our sleep? Learn all this and more with sleep expert Jack Delaccio. Jack Delaccio, welcome to the Thrive State Podcast.
Thank you very much. Really glad to be here. Appreciate it.
I am super excited because we're going to dive into sleep, which is the number one pillar I talk about in my book, Thrive State. But before we get into that, the people in the podcast know about a segment of the show called the 5 to Thrive. Now, you might not know this, Jack, but if you win the 5 to Thrive, you got a healthy meal on me the next time we connect. And I'm sure we'll connect in real life at some point soon. So my question to you here is, Jack, are you ready to play the 5 to Thrive?
I'm ready. Let's go for it.
Question number 1 was, what was your favorite childhood toy?
It had to be my X-Wing from Star Wars.
Excellent. Beautiful Star Wars fan. Question number 2 is, as a child, did you look up to be as one of your heroes that you wanted to become?
Definitely my dad. I
Oh,
I would really shadow him and try to be like him from a really, really young age.
beautiful. Question number three is what book, quote, phrase, or belief entered your life in that moment of your life and just had you look at the world completely differently after that?
Geez, it's going to sound very typical because I'm Italian, I guess. But I felt the Godfather movie and the
Ah,
Godfather quotes. You can take them out of organized crime and put them to real life, and they all apply.
okay. And which quote would that be that stands out?
Oh, geez. Which quote? I mean, probably not the one that had the lesson for me, but one of my favorite quotes would be drop the gun, take the cannolis. But that was not really a lesson, just what it pops into mind. See that this is kind of just being thrown at me.
Question number four. If I were to give you a microphone and force you to sing a song in front of 50,000 people, what song would you choose?
Geez, in front of 50,000 people, maybe I'd probably sing the song "Perfect" for my wife.
Oh, wow. Ed Sheeran
It
fan.
would not come out well though.
You know, karaoke is very different from real singing. So I'll get there. 4,000 points. Will he win it all? Question number five is how does Jack want to be remembered?
Oh, geez. How do I want to be remembered? I just want to be good to everyone. If everyone I've met and any time I've been a positive impact on them, that's all I'm looking for.
Oh, wow. I feel that energy from you, Jack. So thank you. And you win the Five to Thrive, which means next time we meet in real life, a meal is on me. Jack, we know that you're the founder of Essentia, which is the number one sleep mattress in the world. How did you dive into the world of sleep and become interested in becoming a sleep researcher? What was the part of your life that what were the steps that led you to where you are today?
For me, this dates back 23 years now. 23 years ago, I had some people in my family who were going through some cancer treatments, and we were just realizing through researching for them and my family, seems everyone in the family was doing some research to figure things out. One thing that stood out is that our living environment, our indoor air, our surroundings when you're so vulnerable played a big part. The ability to sleep, the ability to resist certain pains, and we really realized that the sleep environment was critical. And as we started to detox and clean up their environments, became a little obsessed with it. In fact, in trying to understand and the materials that were not available, and just dove into trying to clean up materials that were widespread used, but were not very effective, or in fact were causing harm, and if not harm, at least overreaction from the body. There'd be hives or all kinds of respiratory issues. So that just I went down that rabbit hole of trying to figure things out. And I've always had an entrepreneurial side and a product development side, and that's kind of where I put that hat on. And the outcome was not necessarily for business and to develop into the business, but I was so curious to develop the product. When I did it, took me about 3.5 years to develop the first iteration of the product, and I thought from that point on, all right, guys, I'm giving this to the industry, and I'm going to walk away, maybe score some royalty deal, and realize it was not as simple as that. This was my baby. I care for it, and I had to follow through and start up. And I launched Essentia to be able to start manufacturing it and continue the development and continue the product has gone through many iterations. It's been the healthiest product since 2006, and we have had many iterations since then, many improvements. But still today, our 2006 version would be the leading product as for health and wellness, as far as material science for sleep.
Well, you know, so many people don't actually recognize the entire sleep system and environment from light to temperature to the environment to what we're actually sleeping on. Where would you say we have gone, you know, throughout our history? How has human beings slept in the past, and how has our way that we evolved as an country and an industry that we started to, you know, create these things, what have been some of the most harmful things you've discovered that are disrupting sleep that we know is so essential?
There are so many things. We were actually healthier sleepers in our history than we are today. Today, obviously, there's the big pressure is commerce, and what's happening out there is response to marketing spin and what's effective in basically pushing the needle and making sales. So today, I'd say one of the most damaging things would be the toxins that come out of specifically mattresses. A lot of things in the bedroom are regulated, whether it be your paint, whether it be your furniture. They all have regulations not to have such a high load of toxins, but the mattresses are not. I mean, the level of regulation is extremely low threshold. So toxins that basically spike your central nervous system and keep you from getting the deep sleep zones that you need, cycles. So keeping you in a awakened stage, or just the onset of sleep stage, and not really getting you the full amount that you need. That's just one thing on the list. I mean, with
Let's
our
talk about
electronics, our lighting, there's EMFs, it's all over the place.
dive into toxins. So for some people, this might be the first time they're hearing about it. What type of toxins specifically are we talking about in the mattresses that people might not be aware of? And how have you noticed them disrupt sleep? And are these toxins causing other type of health problems?
So here's the thing: is when something is legal and illegal, right? If something is a very long-term, chronic, low-level exposure to a toxin, you can't pinpoint that being specifically what's damaging your health, because they haven't proven over a short of a period to say that that's directly disrupting your body and being a carcinogen. But right now, mattresses are primarily made with polyurethane, same as you'd have on couches and other household items. However, the density on a mattress is much higher. And since, I guess, 30 years, 35 years, the introduction of memory foams, the densities are even higher, for double to triple the weights of density of this product, which off gases. Through the lifespan of the last 30 years, that product has got worse, not better. They become more toxic, not less toxic. They've added other chemicals to the equation, phase changing chemicals, so that you don't sleep hot. Basically, upon contact with heat, a chemical reaction happens and a coolness kind of comes off of that. So really, you need to keep tossing and turning to keep getting that reaction, which is tons of sleep interruptions. But beyond that is, again, you've added more cocktails of chemicals in your sleep environment. So between fire barrier chemicals, phase changing chemicals to counter the heat, and the basic high density polyurethane foam, those there are just constantly emitting into your bedroom and your sleep environment, and you continue to absorb them. Now, obviously, the toxin load is not enough to say that it's illegal. You'd have to show real direct link of direct cause of cancer. But there are so many things in our environment at these low level toxins. And basically, we've been able, in monitoring sleep, we've been able to do many double blind studies in every component that we do, in every different feature that we come up with. And we've been able to see less deep sleep and REM sleep with the exposure to these chemicals.
That's amazing. I don't think people actually recognize that. And, one of the things that you've mentioned is just the presence potentially in other type of furniture, it just being higher density in our mattresses. But, you're usually not in your other furniture for as long as you are sleeping in your bed. And so, these low level exposure that you have is definitely increased because you're just spending so much time on the mattress. Yeah.
And when you're most vulnerable,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be on guard. You're supposed to be resetting. You're supposed to be, cleaning your lymphatic system. Your mind and body is in repair mode, not defense mode. And we're forcing our bodies to stay in defense mode, which are the awakened sleep cycles, not the deep sleep cycles.
Mm. How did you know to address the issues of toxins during that, cancer period in your family that you were trying to solve? What was the inkling that you had that it might be something in terms of the toxic load and the chemicals that were affecting that health parameter?
At that point, when you're dealing with cancer patients and early cancer survivors, the signs are usually pretty obvious where it becomes respiratory and you take them out of that environment and they're no longer having the respiratory issues. And some were even more extreme where breaking out into hives. So when a body is compromised, you're able to identify things a lot more easily than a healthy person would be able to. And I've seen the opposite side of it too, where we work with so many pro athletes and they are just as sensitive to those changes in their bodies as somebody who is fighting a disease. So I found that spectacular how those are the two extremes that are really in really well connected with what's going on with their bodies.
So there are mattresses out there that are labeled as organic. And does the label organic guarantee that someone's going to be free of these toxins?
It should be, but it's not always the case. So the best-selling products, the ones that get the most traction, are the ones that sound organic, that have spa-like names, but don't actually have anything organic in them, unfortunately. Because why? They're the least expensive ones. So they're giving you the brand appearance of organic. Then you go to the next level where they'll have partially organic, where oftentimes it'll just be the shell and not the foam inside. And the shell doesn't nearly have the toxins that the actual core inside does. And then you get to certified organic mattresses. And that's where, it's really important to be buying Galls or GOTS certified organic mattresses. Those are the standards that will, again, I'll say 95% of the way there, because then there is a little bit of homework that you need to do as well. But if it's GOTS and Galls certified organic, you've passed the threshold of the greenwashing, the fake stuff. And again, make sure that what's certified is not just the cover or not just a component, but it's the core. And unfortunately, in the online age, the smaller the company, the more they cheat, in a sense that they'll use a logo, they'll say that it's certified, but it doesn't have the certification number, does not match the brand, which means they've borrowed the certification, which they're not supposed to. But also when it's borrowed, you don't know if they're actually using it in full transparency, if they've actually been audited for their products completely. So it is sometimes challenging for a consumer, and I can understand where some people just don't want to deal with all these complications. But simply said, GOTS certified, Galls certified, that the brand name is part of the certification, so that you know who's being audited. And then we go a little deeper. I always suggest not, because in the organic certifications, they allow coils to be in the mattress because it's kind of considered an inert acceptable component, while not organic is not introducing any toxins to the room. However, I would also say to not just focus on toxins, and you also want a performance mattress, and coils is not the way to get it. So, to get into organic coil-less mattresses would be the proper direction for a healthy, proper sleep.
What I enjoy about, mattresses in general, particularly mattresses that are, reporting health benefits and long-term benefits, are actually studies. You guys did a very interesting study with some NHL players demonstrating improvements in the restorative aspects of sleep, which is deep sleep and REM sleep. Can you talk to us about that study design and what you guys found?
Yeah, that was really interesting. That we love doing those types of studies. What we pride ourselves on is not just being an organic mattress. We really pride ourselves being a performance organic mattress. We focus on eliminating all stimulants, from toxins to heat to EMFs to every different thing that can interrupt that sleep or slow down the path of getting to REM sleep and deep sleep. And one of our most recent studies was, in fact, analyzing how we've added our quartz formula. So our latex foam is now made with a quartz formula integrated in the cells. And we were able to increase cooling features benefits, and we were able to eliminate the disruptive EMF waves that are all around us with 3G, 4G, 5G, all of the cellular networks. And we ran this study. It was a 10-week study, so it was pretty extensive. And we had, I believe, 75 players, half of which were on Essentia, half of which where it was a blind study. We had other performance mattresses. but in the synthetic world. We had the memory foams, we had the gel foams, and we also had a segment of them that were just simply organic, but not performance organic. And the numbers were insane, anywhere from 20 to 60% more deep sleep and REM sleep, which is a game changer. If you're, I mean, these pro athletes, their contract signings, their performance, all that depends on their performance. So if we're able to move that needle by so much of 20%, the base amount, it just allows them to thrive. All we can do for sleep is increase your productivity, increase your ability to thrive. The rest is kind of on you, but the foundation to your health and wellness starts with rest, recovery, and sleep. So that's the foundation. We truly, believe that you could be your best self only with the proper sleep.
You mentioned several different factors as it pertains to coming up with creating this sleep system for your mattress. One of them being EMFs.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know thus far about how EMFs are affecting our sleep and our health in general? And what have you guys been doing in terms of being able to help combat that with your materials?
I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, I just wanted to let you know, join our community. There's so many free resources and a great community of people that desire health, happiness, human potential, to have more in their life, more health, more energy. And when you have those two things together, you could create more happiness, more abundance, whether it be financial, romantic, all these things in your life. And if you're just starting out, you don't know where to go, just sign up for ThriveStateStarter.com, because in there, you're going to get a bundle of information that includes a longevity ebook, a longevity and performance resource guide, lecture notes that come from my keynotes at Google, at Fortune 500 companies, all the insights in that keynote in lecture slide form given to you. And then finally, breathwork. I share 3 powerful breathwork exercises to access calm, which really gives you clarity and peace during the day, to access energy if you need to wake up and really motivate yourself, and finally, a breathwork routine that you could do every single morning so that you could be very intentional with how you create that day. You can find all this stuff delivered free to your inbox at ThriveStateStarter.com. And our community is growing. If you want to be a part of a community of people that desire the Thrive State, that are really in Thrive State themselves, and help other people along with that, you could be a part of the community. You can get group coaching from me. We do breathwork sessions, meditation sessions, and you also get to drop in and participate in podcasts in the future. You could find more about the community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. So check out those resources. You're not going to be disappointed. And please enjoy the remainder of this podcast.
That's an interesting one, just because I would be doing some sleep coaching with some of my athletes. So one of the things with the athletes is that they are typically at a young age. We're talking to the average players anywhere 18 to 25. Obviously, the more when they're getting senior, between 25 and 30, they're way more concerned about their recovery. But the main thing is, every time I'd be talking to some players and saying, you know what, cell phone should be off, airplane mode, not next to you, and try to keep a lot of the streaming away from you. And, I've had some players be really honest with me and talk about, where they're coming from. Some of these guys have been away from home, away from their friends, as early as the age 15, going to prep schools, going to, these different camps, and then getting drafted, and they're away from friends and family that they grew up with from a very early age. Their only connection is to be on the phone with their friends and family. So detaching from that technology was not an option. And back in 2015, I was really starting to focus on what are the alternatives to embrace technology, but not have it harm us. And in my search, I found this doctor out in Switzerland who was working on informed quartz, and started doing some work with him. And we really started to try implementing informed quartz in our latex formula. And with enough load in our formula, we saw big changes. Now, again, we work very while we have our customers who are organic or performance, we're also working with institutional people. And, we do work with a well living lab. So everything we do needs to be evidence-based. So it can't just be fluff. So if I was going to bring this technology in and introduce it at Essentia, it had to be evidence-based. And so we're trying to figure out what we can, is our EMFs, can we prove some disruption of EMFs, and have we mitigated the issue? What we are able to see is that our blood cell behavior with exposure to active EMFs, like just simple phone call, was very erratic behavior. The cells clustered together. And the hypothesis is that as these cluster together, oxygen does not flow as freely as it would. And when you're off the device, within 10 minutes to 30 minutes, it normalizes again. What we are able to see is that with our quartz formula latex, that never happened. So the disbursements of cells were actually improved even without the phone calls. When you got on an active call, there was not that disruption that happened in the blood cells. So that was what we were able to really showcase and show the dark field microscopy of the blood cells. And we're able to see, hey, there's a real protection that we've done. Now, what that does to your body, that's not part of our evaluation. What does this restricted oxygen flow? We can only hypothesize what that is, but we were able to show that, hey, there is a protection happening here. And that was our what we needed before we embraced the technology and added to Essentia. And like everything, we introduced those, I think, in 2018, started to trickle them in for our athletes that wanted to push to the next level and be part of the pioneers in getting into this technology. And it's been about a year now that it's available in all of our beds, which is what we try to do. We try to, evolve all of our products, always improving, always being better. At least our intention is never to make a product that's not performing just for price or just for the sell-through of a product. Every product has to be the best we can make, and always trying to make sure there's true benefits to the user.
So that the audience understands the experiment being done, you actually took blood from people basically just on cell phones, then basically took blood from them on cell phones on the bed itself. And what you've noticed is anytime a person was just on the cell phone without the bed on, the blood, there was no clumping. When somebody was on the cell phone itself, you noticed the clumping. But when they were on the bed with the cell phone, you didn't notice the clumping there.
Correct. Correct. And we did it with different age groups, different genders, and the results were always consistently the same.
Wow, that's amazing. That's research there that's new to me, and it's pretty compelling that you've demonstrated your technology on your mattresses. You mentioned a couple of other things in terms of like how beds are made, in terms of being able to generate the feel that we want for a bed, as well as maybe temperature regulations and things like that, that you took the time to actually make sure that the chemicals and the materials used actually didn't disrupt REM sleep. What were some of those things that you threw in there? You mentioned the REM disruption, you mentioned it being organic, but you also mentioned a couple of other things earlier.
And this has been kind of how we work and how we've evolved, is at the core of it always being organic. So we have those, we've taken care of the toxic load and have that clean sleep environment. But as we've improved and added to the benefits of Essentia, the key was never to compromise in anything else. And so when we had to bring in a cooling factor, a thermal regulation, it had to be done within our organic standards. And that was really, and that became in the makeup of the formula itself, the very porous material. And also what we're realizing, it's not, in all of our tests and all of our studies, what we've seen, it's not just sleeping cold. We've noticed this to be something very dynamic. If your temperature is dropping, you stay asleep longer. If your temperature is on the rise, your mind will think it's going to be about to trickle into the awakened stage. We all follow the circadian rhythm. And it's as the sun comes up, temperatures go up, it triggers our mind to wake up. As the environment cools down, triggers our mind to stay asleep and get into deeper sleep. So in fact, we had to design a formula that allowed your natural thermal regulation to happen, allowed your body heat to escape, and allowed to do that throughout an 8-hour cycle. So you're constantly dropping. And that was one of the keys to making sure that we're not just artificially changing the temperature of a room, because that can cause you to perspire if you're on a synthetic mattress. So it's not perspiring, being comfortable, and allowing that natural thermal regulation to happen. We've been able to extend those deep sleep cycles. Now that comes to thermal regulation. We've touched on EMFs, so we've touched on toxins. There's obviously the most, the earliest reason why people ever bought mattresses was pain management, pressure redistribution. Those are the obvious ones, but it's still part of the whole thing that has to come together. If you're not managing pain, if you're not redistributing weight, and that was one of the things that organic mattresses don't have compared to the synthetic ones. The slow response foam that we were the first to develop and the only one to have in an organic mattress is key to having proper posture support, proper spinal hydration, proper pressure redistribution. These are all the components of not disrupting your sleep while having a clean sleep environment and a thermal regulating environment. So that's been our path. Our path is, how do we keep adding on? And I remember one of the executives that we were working with at the Well Living Lab, Mayo Clinic, and they had said they've never seen any, and they've evaluated hundreds of mattresses. They've seen some people do well at one thing, but they've never seen any company bring them all together to have all the benefits that are critical to sleeping well.
Mm. This is things that I think people don't actually think about, their toxic load and all the things that come into the mattress. And I'm so glad that you brought a light to this. Now let's move on to some more fun topics as it pertains to people sharing a bed. There's the whole concept that's out there, people in TikTok talking about sleep divorces. What's your take on that? First of all, maybe go ahead and define what that is for people, and then what your take is.
So sleep divorce is when a couple, very happy couple, have decided that sleeping together was a detriment to their relationship, or that they've basically prioritized. And I do have people that I work with that sleep in either separate rooms or separate beds. There's so many reasons. It could be scheduling, could be snoring. We have some extreme cases of restless leg syndrome. I've had one customer who, sweetest guy, the nicest guy you could ever imagine, not a aggressive bone in his body, but when he would sleep, it was way beyond restless leg syndrome. He was violent, and he didn't know why, couldn't explain it, and that's not my background to understand it. But his girlfriend was going to leave him, and I said, "Have you guys ever considered sleep divorce? If you guys are great together, other than sleep." So there's so many, and with pro athletes and biohackers, this is something becoming more and more common, because the mattress, there's two real reasons for a mattress or a bed is intimacy and sleep. A lot of them are seeing that they can get their intimacy in either in a separate room or in one of the rooms, and it's almost, they've conditioned their brain for that. When they go to that room together, they know they're going for intimacy, and that became part of their routine. While when it's time for shut-eye, they want to be their best selves and maximize it. I mean, I believe statistics right now are showing that over 20% of couples do not sleep together anymore. So it's something interesting. I personally don't do that with my wife. We haven't had the need to, but I can definitely understand it. If I wasn't sleeping at night, at one point, considering a different bed would be, and it doesn't represent anything less on the relationship. I don't believe.
There are some biological differences when it comes to sleep, both for men and women. Can you highlight maybe some of the hormonal type of considerations we should think about in terms of how we should look at sleep between men and women?
Well, that's one of the interesting things, and that's where we did so much work on the thermal regulation. That's one of the primary differences
Mm.
men and women. And in early stages when we're younger, men sleep hot, women sleep cold. And that kind of changes with age, where women start sleeping hot afterwards as well. The natural thermal regulation kind of manages all that because it allows our body heat to escape at the pace that we need it to. So if my body temperature after playing a hockey game is elevated, well, my mattress is allowing that thermal regulation to happen at the speed that it needs to release it. So that's where it really was such a game changer for us to have this thermal regulating formula rather than having a chili pad or whether being a cold room. And a cold room is not a solution for both people, right? That could be something. Obviously, a lot of men prefer having the cold room. A lot of women are not as comfortable with that. Obviously, not sleeping in a warm room, I would never advise that. But it has to be a manageable temperature for both people, for the couple. But ultimately, the individualized thermal regulation is key to having that and to be able to adapt to the changing body over time, whether someone's going through extreme weight loss or premenopausal. So there's so many reasons where the body has different needs and changing needs. And does the sleep environment adapt to that rather than always having to just change it up?
That's a great point. And you mentioned something that I know some people in my community are familiar with. It would be like either an 8 mattress or a chili pad where there's actually a device or mat that you could put on top of the mattress to cool things down. How does the thermal regulation materials in your mattress compare to, actually putting on something that will physically bring down the temperature?
So one of the things I would also obviously look out for is you don't want something moisture causing mechanical device to be embedded in the mattress because that could lead to mold. That could lead to other issues. Chili Pad as a brand has a really great product. They have a weighted blanket which has the cooling system on it. So instead of having it on the mattress, you're putting it on yourself. I have plenty of athletes that use our mattress combined with the chilled weighted blanket. Reason is they don't want to wait for the natural thermal regulation. They want to cool down quickly. So it's a great product to do that. So there's absolutely no problem with doing that. I prefer the weighted blanket over the pad. One is because you remove it, you make sure it dries properly, and you're not adding moisture to the sleep environment for, that could take you in the wrong direction when it comes to mold.
Such a great take on it. Is there anything that you're doing in your entire sleep system? And do you have any advice as to how people should be picking a pillow when it comes to sleep?
So pillows are tough. Pillows are hit or miss. They're very personal. If you have the right mattress, now it's time to narrow down on the right pillow. It's going to depend on sleeping style, on your back, on your side. That has a lot to do with personality as well. It's embedded in who we are. So stomach sleeper, side sleeper. So if you're a side sleeper, you're going to have to basically have a pillow wide enough to manage your shoulder span. So you'll need a thicker pillow. But over the years, what I've liked to appreciate as the best options are loose fill pillows. So when you have a loose fill pillow, again, an organic loose fill pillow, what you can do is you can shuffle it around like a down pillow. So you can bunch it up and create a thicker ball and create that for a side sleeper, or you can flatten it out for a back sleeper or stomach sleeper. That is always going to have to do with sleeping style and shoulder span. And those will be and again, like your mattress, you don't want to be introducing any toxins to the room. So always going organic is key.
And lastly, are there any other things pertaining to sleep that you found to be most game changer for your results, for your clients, for your athletes? And some people we know in this space would include blue light blocker glasses, or any temperature changes, or essential oils, magnesium. If you were to consider a complete sleep system, what have you found for people that have been able to get their bang out of their buck?
Well, for me, what's worked for me and what's worked for a lot of the people that I work with, I wish I had them here. They're on my desk, but not here. Is is my blue light blocking glasses, but not the regular yellow lens or white lens, but you've probably seen the red lens versions. They block many more stimulating colors out. I'm a person who is always researching, working, communicating. So as much as my brain is always a little overactive, and those red lenses have been the best thing for me to shut it down. It only takes me 15 to 20 minutes of wearing those glasses that completely almost gets me tired and makes me want to escape the over analyzing thoughts. And I'm ready to, it really helps me out with the onset of sleep. I've spoken about it to many people, and it's helped so many of them, because the lights, whether it be from your computer, your cell phone, just basically artificial lights in an indoor environment, they're restricting our natural production of melatonin, and they're just racing our thoughts. So we can't escape technology or the detrimental side of technology, but there are little tricks that can help us out. And to me, the red lenses, and this is not a product that we sell. I'd like to throw this brand out there because I trust it and I like it. It's True Dark is the lenses that I have, and I've bought them for friends and family because I know that eliminating those stimulants for the onset of sleep allows me to do my job well when it comes to once they do put their head on the pillow.
This is all very super informative information. I haven't had a podcast where we talked about sleep, to talk about these toxins that we're not aware of that's going on. So I think, shedding a light on that is super important for this audience here. How do people find out more about you, your work, and if they wanted to grab a mattress of their own, where should they go?
Well, I think the interesting thing is if you go to our website, myessentia.com, to Essentia without the L, ESSENTIA, go on the learn pages. If you're really interested and you're really curious, everything we've discussed today, whether it be the double-blind studies, the results are there. Whether it be the blood tests that we've done on EMFs, the results are there. There's so much. We have a whole section on biohacking sleep. There's a lot of learn pages there, and we take so much pride. We've done a lot of work with some of the nation's most respected institutions to do this work. And so we publish it all on our site for everyone to see for free. That same site, obviously, we sell the mattresses and pillows there. You have our sleep experts that are always ready to help people out. And our whole team here takes pride in knowing when we've changed somebody's life for the better, and sleep has the power to do that. So which is pretty awesome.
That's great. Last question I have for you. Everything that you've gone through in life, without being sleep related, what has been your best medicine?
Okay, my best medicine is not a medicine, but it's being active. For me, that's the trigger point. If I work out or I play a sport, after a sport, I tend to want to eat healthy. Yeah. When I want to eat healthy, I sleep better. Everything's interconnected, and everyone's got to find what their trigger point is. And some people, by sleeping better, eat better, and work out better. Mine works with exercise first. So exercise triggers better nutrition, triggers better sleep. You need to find what gets you in that holistic pattern. And for me, being active is what does it for me.
That's great. Well, I appreciate all the wisdom. You've certainly shed a whole concept of sleep that I think people aren't aware of. So appreciate your time, appreciate your wisdom, and thank you for being on the Thrive State podcast.
Where are we going for dinner?
We'll talk about that right when we shut this off, because I'd love to get to know you a little bit more after this conversation. I really do want to actually find out a little bit more about your mattresses and get one for my family as well. So we'll speak offline, but thanks again for being on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I hope you enjoy that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if you're finding that this content is really helping you and your family members, please consider supporting our mission and our cause of elevating health, happiness, and human potential for people all over the world. You can do so by making sure that you subscribe to this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family members, and leaving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. All these things are going to really help elevate the show and to give us the resources to continue to bring more content just like this to yourself as well as the people that you love. If you haven't already, you might want to consider joining our community. We actually have a community where people get to engage with me in group sessions where we do breath work, meditation, where we do challenges together, really to be able to get us access to health, happiness, human potential so that we could have longevity and performance in our life as well. You can check out our community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State. It really gives you all the tools, the pillars that you need to create a blueprint to control the energetics of your life. Who are you? How you show up in the world? The choices that you consistently make create an energy in your body, and you can control this. And when you can control that, you also control the messages you give to your DNA that gives you access, again, to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And let me also just share a free gift to you. If you haven't already, please pick up my longevity and performance bundle where I share lecture notes, ebooks, breathwork exercises, and longevity and performance resources at thrivestatestarter.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for helping us grow. Remember always, my friends, that you are your best medicine.